Hello. I wanted to show you basically how to do coilovers on a 2015 Toyota Yaris. I've had these things around forever, the Rev 9 coilovers. They're on eBay. Conveniently, they also work on Festivas, but that's for another time. Also, so the older generation of Yarises all share the same suspension, even though they have a different code number for them. So these will work on a 2008 Yaris all the way up to basically this, or whatever year the second gen Yaris was that was brought to America. So yeah, all works out the same. I've got one of them installed. I've got a few pictures I'll splice in to show you how to do it or how everything should look, but that's currently how it is after being installed. Stock one, I popped apart the top nut. I basically used a little crescent wrench, got on the flat spot of this, and just used a crescent wrench, or well, ratcheting wrench, and just broke loose the nuts. I'm gonna pop that apart. I'm going to use the jack and go off of wherever the jack point is, that right there, and lift the car up, break loose. It's going to be a 14mm nut and 14mm bolt that pull the shock out of the way, and then I'm just going to use some like C-clamps to compress the spring. So yeah, I'll splice in the pictures and you'll see what I'm talking about. It is done. It took a little while. I quite literally sold a transmission and also a random Tonka I had sitting around for about a year or so on Marketplace. So made like 140 bucks today. So this thing's almost dead, but that's the installed side. I already put the cover on that side. I wasn't quite sure if they would actually still fit, but it worked out that way, so that's cool. And ignore the train. So there's the finished driver's side. I adjusted the coilover to where, I don't know if we'll be able to see it. So there's an access hole right below the sticker there. I can't really get closer to it because I'm only holding this with one hand, but I adjusted it to where I'm just seeing the end or the edge of where the threads start. So that's my baseline for either side of the car to start to adjust it, basically to adjust how much my droop is. So it's just suspension stuff we can go over at a later time because that train's going to be really annoying with audio. So going from that, that's baseline. I know everything's adjusted the same. I measured the coil or the threads on our actual like spring puck down here and have that the same on either side. Everything's tightened down. That train keeps getting louder. So everything should be good to go. I'm going to take it for a test drive, and hopefully tomorrow we will get the front coilovers on after I kind of go through and make sure they're ready to go over there. So yeah. Okay, last little bit. Basically took the entrance to the little subdivision here, and I can tell there's less, I don't know how to say it, there's less body roll just having the rear like coilovers on now. So that's really the only difference I felt driving the whole thing like the country mile around here. But it was definitely an improvement. So hopefully when we get the other video going over the front coilovers getting installed, we'll see more of an improvement yet. So I'm gonna go hello and goodbye. Okay, we're on a back road towards a local town I go to that it's been repaved a while ago, but it's still really bumpy. I forgot some tools in the back of the car, but so far I went over a railroad track, went over that culvert back there. Everything's feeling really good. I know I can adjust the bump stiffness of those coilovers in the back, but just initial like settings, like not touching anything, it's riding really well. I actually, it feels more planted to the road, but I might want to lower the car down a little bit more once I get the front coilovers on. But so far, initial impression, hopefully springs get a little bit softer after they've been used for a few months, but everything else for how it's feeling is pretty good. Okay, quick thing. So, bunch of 10mm bolts. This whole panel unclips. This is where like the wiper blade sits on top. It took forever. No one pointed out that just pops off. So basically pop that off. That's a 14 millimeter that holds on the one main wiper blade for the front of the car, and I'm going to use a 17 millimeter with this to get to the top nut. And then, well, I've basically got like spring compression tools holding the tension on the strut, and I'll be able to pull it out. There's still some smoke coming off of it. So this is what happens when I get angry. I get a little bit creative, and this is basically the half-inch step down because of a very stupid little design they did with the top hat. They buried it to where it's past flush, a quarter of an inch after the top of the nut, so you can't get anything to it. This solves it. I can hold it on there and use the Allen key that fits it, which is a 6 mil, and break the top of the top hat loose, and then finally be on to putting the new coilover on. Just dumb design, that's all. This is what I was talking about. So, there we go. So this is the top portion of the top hat, and this massive flange that doesn't really do much, well, it helps support the strut top hat a little bit, but for the most part, it just buries the nut past flush and makes it impossible to actually get it apart. So what we ended up going with, in a bit of frustration, is welding on a piece of rebar because all thread was starting to bend, because I really doubt it was at 37 foot-pounds, because I shouldn't have had to have a breaker bar like that just to get the nut broke loose. But it's done. I'll be able to use that on the driver's side, and hopefully everything will go a lot quicker, because currently the strut is just sitting in the foot or the wheel well. See? So this is all loose. I've got the spring under compression just a little bit to keep it safe, and I'm just going to pull it out of here. I undid the lower nut for the sway bar link. I've got shorter ones that are going to go on with the new coilovers that are sitting over there. Stock strut is taken apart. I took the old top hat with the bearing, or the bearing plate, to the vise and literally just tapped on it with a hammer, like barely anything at all, and this popped out of the metal piece down there. So this will get assembled over there, and I'll try and splice in a picture I found that was actually relevant to these cars, because it's all scattered and hit and miss online. So yeah. Okay, I ended up taking the entire valance off, and the windshield wiper unbolted way easier than I thought it would, so it made getting this side done really quick. So everything is put together now. Not a whole lot else to it. I'm just kind of looking forward to test driving this thing and see how everything goes, but as far as I know, everything stayed in alignment because of the way these bolted in, which was basically the bolt basically swedges itself and locates everything really well. So I might get another driving video of this tomorrow. I'm just kind of tired and I gotta get up in the morning. I'll probably put the wiper blade, basically the little less important stuff, together on it tomorrow. But I'll make sure I test drive this tonight, later. Alright, coilovers are done. Everything turned out okay, but I think I made a hole in something. I'm joking. I'm just tired. But anyways, so everything is basically back together, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I've got the instantaneous MPG thing going up there, so if I do that, it goes away, but my point is I'm getting the same mileage as I normally do driving the car. It's tracking straight, and I've drove this to work and, well, on the way home now, and honestly, everything with the setup so far is really good. I do need to stiffen the bump dampening in the front just a little bit when I go over bridges. It porpoises a little bit, and I need to soften the preload on the rear springs. Otherwise, it's driving really well, and that's about it. I ran out of parts to put back on it. So, there's the car currently. I increased the bump dampening in the front. I still need to take some preload out of the back, and I might lower the front about 1/4 of an inch and go from there. So far, everything with how I've drove the car seems to be working really good. I'll finally pop the dent out above the gas door and try and get some better wheels for it now. See you guys next time. You're next.